Hi, my name is Seamus Mitchell. Today I will be talking about Anzia Zaraska and one of her short stories that is titled Wings. Anzia Zaraska was a Jewish American novelist who was born in Poland but ended up moving to New York. She wrote 9 total novels that went on for over 50 years. One of her most famous projects was named Hungry Hearts, which included Wings and 9 other short stories. In 19 in 1887, Zaraska's brother moved from Poland to America. 6 years later, Zaraska did the same thing with her family. When she came to America, Anzia changed her name to Harriet. In her late 20s, she went back to Anzia. Zaraska was born in Mali Plock, Poland. Her parents wanted their sons to pursue a higher education, and Anzia and her sisters were there to support the boys. Anzia was homeschooled and then forged a high school transcript to enroll at Columbia University. In her collegiate years, she studied domestic science so she could learn the skills to be a good middle class housewife. She wasn't interested in the subject but wanted a bachelor's degree in anything. She then went on to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, where she began to write. Zaraska's personal life was filled with a lot of quick marriages. In 1910, she fell in love with Arnold Levitas, but ended up marrying his best friend. 6 months later, that marriage ended, and she went back to Arnold, and they had a child named Luis. In 1917, she moved to the city of New York and married a professor named at, professor at Columbia University. In 1913, Yezierska began writing short stories about the Jewish ghetto. Through her career, she wrote 9 novels. Her bestseller was Hungry Hearts, that was published in 1920. Anzia Zaraska's Wings portrays the journey of Seshna Pasa, a Russian Jewish immigrant grappling between the clash of traditional expectations and the longing for personal freedom. Through Shasna's defiance of social norms and predetermined roles, she symbolizes wings as a longing for freedom and empowerment. Wings is a short story written in the novel of the Hungry Hearts. Yaraska writes a story about challenges that immigrants face in the early 2000s, especially the ones that lived in New York City. Sheshna Pasha, a Russian Jewish immigrant who wants to be free in her life and not answer to anyone. She migrates to America to help her uncle who just lost his wife. Miss Meckler comes to Sheshna's uncle with a proposition to Sheshna to go with a wealthy man named Molokek who needs a woman to cook, clean, and care for him. At first, the uncle doesn't want to because he is unsure that the man is wealthy enough, but eventually he agrees. Chestnut cannot stand the idea of two people deciding what her life will turn out to be. She runs out of the house and is determined to be her own person. She meets a man named John Barnes who promises to take her to the library and read so she can educate herself. When she enters the library, she becomes ecstatic and she strives for her independence. And her wings symbolize the relentless pursuit of freedom in the face of adversity. On page 207, the narrator quotes, "My heart chokes like me in prison. I'm dying for a little love and I got nobody, nobody," wailed Shesnapasa. As she looked over the small basement window, it was bright. It was a bright Sunday afternoon in May, and into the gray, cheerless janitor's basement, a timid ray of sunlight announced the dawn of spring. Yasheshka employs the figurative and rhetorical language to show Shesna's feelings for who she is as a person. When the narrator quotes the word prison, it metaphorically speaks to the sense of confinement due to her uncle controlling her every point of life. In addition, this description of this small basement window that she looks at through the works as a double meaning. On one hand, it's a way of showing her material poverty, but on the other, it can be described as Shesna seeing a feature of the elusive American dream. The sunlight announced by the dawn of spring symbolizes the hope for a new beginning, with the spring representing growth. I've got a lot of luck. I've learned myself English from a Jewish English reader and one of those boarders that left me a grand book. When I only began to read, I forgot I'm on this world. It lifts me on wings higher than thoughts. Her whole face and figure lifted up with animation, so she poured herself out to him. So even in the midst of the sordid surroundings were wings and high thoughts, he mused. This quote backs up the thesis earlier in the sense that Shesna uses the symbolism to express her freedom from the setbacks and restraints that are placed on her. Shesna wrote many other short stories aside from Wings. Although Shesna had the same themes of Jewish immigrants, they all have different stories. Samuel Goodwin was a movie director in Hollywood and purchased the rights to the movie collection of Hungry Hearts for over $100,000. Goodwin wanted to paint Yezierska as the symbol of the American dream, but she felt uncomfortable with this. Anzia Yezierska is an icon for many immigrants, Jewish Americans, and women. She showed what it meant to be a pioneer. Although she wasn't comfortable being represented as the American dream, she really is. She came from an immigrant and made a serious change and shared stories of hundreds of Jewish Americans that were just like her.